powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Adam Caplan's here from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can find on any podcasting platform or on their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. We know it is a Monday night matchup. The latest line on this game, kind of interesting. The Chiefs now -2.5, over under 45.5. We'll see the injuries here as Adam Caplan joins us now on a Football at 4 Friday edition here. Adam, what's going on, buddy?
So I don't know, Mike, if you really look at 2.5 and give the Chiefs the home field for 3 points. I mean, if you're going to give one, it would be them because they've got the best record over the last 10 years at home. But the bottom line is it just comes down to two evenly matched teams.
Yeah, usually you do see the 3. So when it dropped a little bit, it kind of gives you a little bit of a thought process here. Okay, are people looking at the Eagles as the better team in this spot here, as we typically do on a Friday? Now, we got a Monday night game, a little different, but how healthy after bye week is Philadelphia here? Let's take a look at some of the key participants who are in question here.
Yeah, the good thing, Mike, is actually I have a very bad echo. If you guys could correct that. I keep hearing myself. Kind of tough to talk.
Yeah. Right here? There you go. How about now?
I sound good. Perfect. Okay. So Dallas Goedert, Mike, obviously will not play with a forearm fracture. The only question is, do they put him on IR? The deadline to put him on IR this week to use the roster spot will be Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So what we do know is Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra, who've been through it before, Brian Johnson, their offensive coordinator, talked about it again for the second straight year. Those guys will fill in, and Albert Okwuegbunam will also be the number 3 tight end. We should see him, Mike. We definitely should see him in this game. Last year, the Eagles did it a little bit where they dressed just 2 tight ends, which is daring. You got to be careful because if you lose one during the game, you only dress 2, you got a problem. And you can't run 12. You can't do 12 personnel. So we'd expect Albert O to dress. Now, Cam Jurgens, Mike, barring something highly unforeseen, which would mean a setback, he will dress and start on Monday night. And again, they have till 4 p.m. Eastern to recognize this move here. Look, let's look at this, Mike. Their running game, I don't care what Nick Sirianni says on this area, as much as I think he's a great coach, and I agree with him 90% of the time, we all have seen it. The running game since Jurgens got hurt in Week 4 against Washington has not been the same, no matter what he says. The numbers show it. We all see it. Jurgens coming back. And, Mike, the great story about Jurgens is this guy's only played offensive line for 4 years, Mike. 2 years in the NFL and 2 in college. This guy's a former tight end. Look how good he played. He built his body up. He put mass on his shoulders, and he's much stronger, and he did great. So that's the look of the offense in terms of injuries right now.
So let me follow up on that real quick. You feel that the Jurgens loss is more impactful as to why the run game has suffered more so than maybe where Hurts' health is?
I mean, I know their RPO percentage is down, Mike, but and part of that might have been also with Jurgens, who knows. But if you just watch what I call their natural running game, their traditional run game, with Swift's numbers have taken a dip. Yeah. We all know that. We know Gainwell's more of a grinding type back. Swift's numbers have dropped significantly when he was over 6 yards per carry. It's certainly well down from that. Hurts, but here, Mike, here's the thing we forget. Hurts in Week 1 against New England, we said it on our show Inside the Birds. Cosell said it. Greg did in our pregame show. We all thought Jalen's legs were a little bit heavy. This is before he hurt his knee, obviously his left knee. He didn't look the same. It's really the only part of Hurts' game that doesn't look the same. But the bottom line is, for whatever reasons, particularly with Jurgens, because the numbers would show it, the numbers are down since he played, the running game just has not been as good. We know they'd like to be a passing team, but when you run it, you want to be more effective.
No doubt. And listen, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Hurts looks like coming out this week after the bye, and now we're in the second half of the year. We'll kind of keep an eye on all that. I know a lot of people will be. Let's look at defense. Bradley Roby started working out this week. Justin Evans was limited this week. You've got both those two and how they could change the dynamics of the Eagles' defense.
Oh, Mike, I mean, look, this is huge. If they get both back, obviously Roby, barring he's in another, unless something crazy happens, he's going to play. And we know, depending on how you look at the nickel position, including obviously Avante Maddox. They've had at least 8 players play nickel. It's ridiculous. They haven't had a true nickel corner since Maddox got hurt very early in the season. It's absolutely impacted them. They are the number 32 ranked team in terms of giving up production to quarterbacks and wide receivers, yardage and touchdown, Mike. That's terrible. They have 2 of the highest paid corners in the National Football League amongst them, top 10. It's got to be better, particularly Bradbury. We know the pass rush is clearly not as good as last season. It's good, but it's not nearly as good when it set a team record. So they've got to figure out a way, Mike, to get this going. And it's going to be hard. Now, I know the Chiefs' passing game has not been dynamic. We know that. Their passing numbers are down when Mahomes was an MVP. But you can't look at it that way. You have to just assume that these coaches for the Chiefs, Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, they know what they're looking at on tape, and they see the struggles of number 24, James Bradbury, and you know they're going to go after him. And also the other thing, as we talked about on today's Inside the Birds preview, is that you got to prevent, whether they have a spy on Mahomes or not, you've got to try to prevent those back-breaking scrambles when it's second and long, third long, and it's really humiliating to defensive coordinators when he does this. Mahomes finds space, Mike, and he gets there.
Yeah, he has that big run. I always see. We were laughing earlier. We're not laughing, but we brought it up. The over/under for his yards is 25.5, and it seems like he gets 24 of them on one carry, and it's the back-breaking one that gets that big first down. Defense for the Chiefs has been their forte. They give up under 16 points a game. Nick Bolton, though, their middle linebacker, and another linebacker for them. So that could be one area for the Eagles, but they have no Goddard.
Yeah, and look, without Dallas Goedert, we could add to the Eagles' run game. That's obviously something that's going to be a problem. He's a terrific blocking tight end in terms of asking to do that and staying in line. Obviously, he's really good with a pass. But Nick Bolton is one of the better middle linebackers in the National Football League. Drew Tranquill will replace him. Tranquill's been hurt a lot in his career, but he's a really good athlete. He's a really good backup middle linebacker, by the way, so he'll start for him. But other than that, they expect every single player on their 53-man roster to be available for this game. So they are pretty healthy coming out of the bye. Andy Reid, the best record coming out of the byes, including the playoffs and the regular season, Mike, as you well know. He's just incredible at it. And he's he's coaching against a head coach, Nick Sirianni, whose Eagles have the best road record in the National Football League since the beginning of the 2021 season, 17-5. The Eagles are, since the start of the 21 season, which is the best of the National Football League. Sirianni, we know, is 0-2, and Andy is 27-4, including the playoffs after a bye. That's just simply ridiculous.
Yeah, and another number that's crazy here that I saw this week, Mahomes in November, he's won 14 straight games. He is 39-6 in November and December. 39-6 in November and December. That is unbelievable. Adam Caplan, let's get the matchups you're looking at. Eagles offense, Chiefs defense here. What are some of the things that stand out?
So, Mike, when we look at these matchups, we're going to start here with the Eagles offense versus the Chiefs defense. And both teams, believe it or not, are top 10 in man coverage. Now, when I say man coverage, when I started covering the league in the late 90s, early 2000s, the teams that play heavy man were well over 50%. It's not like that anymore. Why? Because of the rule changes where you can't breathe on a player past 5 yards, and offenses are very favored here, and you can't hit the quarterback really at all in most cases. So it's a lot harder for defenses to stop offenses. So the majority of the league is playing zone defense. So they're trying to take away the deep ball. That's what the Chiefs will do under Steve Spagnuolo. They don't blitz a lot. Yes, they play a higher percentage man defense than most, but again, it's only 32%, seventh highest in the National Football League. What they can do is if they think that they're worried about Hurts running the football, he did run it 10 times, though he's dealing with a bad left knee. He ran it 10 times before the bye against Dallas, so I'll be interested to see how they play them. But the big thing for the Chiefs is, yes, they're great against the pass. They're arguably the NFL's best secondary right now in terms of giving up production to receivers and tight ends. But you know what? This is where you got to get the ball to the running backs out of the backfield. We know Gainwell could catch it. He hasn't been as explosive as we thought Swift can be. We know that. We saw this in training camp. Yes, the running back targets are way up this season, but there's still a lack of explosive plays in the pass game with the running backs. I'd like to see Swift do that. The Chiefs has only given up 2 touchdowns to running backs, but that doesn't mean you can't try. And then obviously the Eagles receivers versus the Kansas City defensive backs. That to me is something where something's got to give. The Chiefs aren't the most physical, like the physical cornerback group, but they're very, very disciplined, and that's where I expect A.J. Brown. There are voids in their zone defense across the middle. That's where the Eagles have to take advantage of it.
All right, Adam Caplan, let's go to the other side of the ball. You got the Chiefs offense, not as high-powered as in the past, against the Eagles defense, who obviously has had their problems in the pass game.
Yeah, Eagles 31% man coverage up this season. They're a little bit more aggressive under Sean Desai, which is what we were expecting. The thing with Mahomes is that he knows coming in that the Eagles are the worst, really. When you really look at it, when you add what the Eagles give up against quarterbacks, they're the 4th worst in terms of passing touchdowns or rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. Mahomes has got to find confidence in looking at the tape, seeing what the kind of spacing that the Eagles give up on the back end of their defense, where their corners don't run well, particularly Bradbury. This is what we had heard last year as we reported on Inside the Birds. We were hearing from some of the Eagles' opponents they wanted to go after Bradbury, but they couldn't protect. Well, this season teams are protecting better, and you're seeing the Eagles' secondary get torched. So I expect them to find a way to free guys up, whether it's Rashee Rice, who's having a really good rookie season, or obviously Kelsey, who's amazing, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's where the ball is going to go here, Mike. And now the backs, the Eagles will stop their run game. The Eagles have a great run defense. We know that. But here's one thing I would be worried about is Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield, where he had 10 touchdowns last season. Most of them came in the red zone. Some came out on pass plays. And we know the trick plays also. We saw this in the Super Bowl with Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, who've done nothing this season, but you can't discount that, Mike. That's something that the offensive coaches, Andy Reid, of course, and Matt Nagy will try to use against them. And again, the Eagles are 11th worst in terms of production versus the tight end. Not good when you're facing Travis Kelce. And one more guy, Noah Gray, number 83, who's the number 2 tight end. He's very athletic. When they go to 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends and 2 receivers, that's a guy to watch out for.
All right, there you go. Monday night preview, the Eagles and the Chiefs. Adam Caplan and the guys from Inside the Birds. What time are you guys going to be doing pregame on Monday?
Oh, yeah. We are on from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. We got a couple of surprises coming for you on Monday night. Yeah, they're definitely going to be fun. We've got some things coming through. Oh, by the way, right now it might rain, unfortunately, during the game. So we'll see if the weather forecast changes.
All right, Adam Caplan, everybody here on the Sports Bash. Adam, happy Friday, man.
Thank you.